Hey, welcome back to Crimes and Closets. This is Beth in my closet in North Carolina.
And this is Christy in my closet in St. Louis.
Happy Monday.
Yes, happy Monday.
I just
happy
had to...
pool opening week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it seems so early.
It is early.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're going to swim in it? You going to do a polar plunge?
No. No, I do not do that.
It's really good for you.
Yeah, but no. It's not. It might be good for you, but I mean, Emery would, because that's what Emery does. He'll go in from his sauna to the pool and take a little jump in after. No, we just open it honestly because we have, hence my post on my Christy from my closet page the other day. I had 80 degrees on, what was it, last week on Tuesday, and then Wednesday it was 20 something. Feels like 13.
Yeah.
So on those random 80-degree days that we have when spring is starting, it would be nice to be able to use a pool. So we like to open it up. But this is the earliest we've done it. So,
and if you wait too long, everyone's opening their pool, and then you get put on a wait list, and that sucks.
Well, yeah, but I always get my name in as soon as they send the letter out. So that's what I do. I usually schedule it right away. And this time I did, but I didn't schedule it till later in the month. And then all of a sudden we were going to have that 80-degree day. And so I called them like, can you come sooner? And they were like, yeah, we can get you in.
Nice.
So, yeah. So anyway.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah. Sorry, I cut you off.
Oh, I don't remember what I was going to say, but obviously wasn't important. Oh, no, I know what I was going to say because we're recording on Leap Day. That's what I was going to say.
Oh, yeah, this day does not exist.
Yep. Except for people who were born on today.
I know, but their birthday only exists once every 4 years. That's so
they're
dumb.
Like 9. 9 years old, technically. When do they celebrate? Do they celebrate March 1st because it's the day after the 28th, which is technically they were born the day after February 28th?
I would imagine that would be the case, but that would really suck to have like your birthday only actually happen.
I don't know. I think it'd be kind of neat.
Maybe. You know what?
Celebrate
I would like
both days.
Yeah, that's what I think I would do. I'd be like, 28th and 1st.
Yep.
Yay.
Get a 72-hour birthday.
I would like it to know if any of our listeners are born on the 29th. That would be like, and tell us what you do.
Sure.
I mean, I don't really know what the chances are that one of them is, but tell us what you do on your February 29th birthday. I will say this. So, well, we all know Kelly. Kelly has made intro appearances and Patreon appearances.
Mm-hmm.
Her and a friend of hers made an agreement to like not drink at home in the month of February on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay.
Monday's Bachelor. So clearly that's like a wine night, you know, and then so they were like, let's try and save money and we won't drink at home. Like if somebody says, hey, do you want to do happy hour? That's fine, but don't come back home and then open some more wine and whatever.
Okay.
Just not drinking at home. Anyway, so this morning I was at the gym, which by the way was a better gym day overall than last week. Just so you know.
Gosh, I was listening to that the other day. I was dying laughing again. Yeah, good one. So good.
So, anyway, so I was on the elliptical and I was sitting there thinking, because she was like, last night I said, one more day. You have one more day and then you can drink during the week at your house. And she's like, I cannot wait. But then this morning on the elliptical, I was like, actually, today only exists once every 4 years. So, like, I feel like it's already March. Like, February always ends on the 28th. It's March. Right. You can drink, even though this year it's she was like, ooh, good point.
She also dressed up like a frog.
Oh, did she post that?
Yeah, well, she sent me a snap and she was dressed like a frog because it's Leap Day. And she was like, I am a pre-K teacher.
Yeah, she's doing all frog stuff and whatever. It's
totally
funny.
Cute.
It's cute. Yeah.
At first I was like, I don't get it. Is it Crazy Hat Day? Now I get it though.
Yeah.
It took me a minute.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I also had a whole conversation with her about all the things that she could possibly do today during her leap year. So, anyway.
So happy Leap Day.
Yes, happy Leap Day.
As of recording, happy Monday for all the rest of you, or it's March for you guys now. So
yeah, it's March 4th. It's over.
Yep. We have a wacky March.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, you and I both have a lot of trips, and we're going to miss each other.
Yes.
It's gonna be sad, but the you're not gonna miss recording. Like, episodes will still be coming out. We have been busting butt.
Yeah, we just won't be recording
it's like 3 weeks or something.
2 weeks, actually, according to my calendar. But we're doing trips. I'm going to be in New Zealand.
So neat.
I'm so excited. Anybody out there from New Zealand?
We've got some Australian listeners. I know. For sure. Yeah. That's going to be super cool. Is your phone going to work?
Yeah.
Okay. You can like send me pictures and stuff.
I mean, I think so. I guess I should call. But I'm pretty sure like it works. I should probably just check on like whether I need to like add a plan.
Yeah, like roaming might kick in or something.
Yeah. Because I know I had to do that for the cruise, but I don't know how that works. Good point. Something else to add to my list to check in on.
You're welcome.
But I'll be like tomorrow. Like
that's
almost whole day ahead of you.
Oh,
I'll let you know what happens.
Yeah. Let me know what happens tomorrow. Send me lottery numbers. Doesn't work like that, does it? We know.
It's fun to think about, though, because I do think about that sometimes. I'm like, but it is tomorrow, but clearly it's not. Like, I mean, you get it.
Beth, Wednesday's awesome.
It's Wednesday.
Just you wait for Wednesday. It was so great.
You know, if my phone works, I'm going to literally be texting you that every day. I'll be like, this is best Tuesday. I can't wait.
Can't wait for you to have this Tuesday I'm having. I am not going to be in New Zealand. I am not going anywhere near as fun, but still excited.
Yeah, I was going to
go to Charleston.
Yeah.
To spend some time there with my sister-in-law. And then we're going to Maryland to our house on the river for a wedding.
Oh, how nice. That's right. I forgot there was a wedding.
Yeah. That's it, though. My phones will definitely work.
Yeah.
So you tell me about that Wednesday.
Okay, I will.
All right. So if that's all the news, then I think it's crime time.
Well, we have a new Patreon.
Oh, yes, we do. We have a new Patreon, Madison S. Hold on, guys.
You're the one that always handles that, so don't even look.
Madison S. Yes. Hello, welcome, Madison. Welcome in. Thank you so much for all the love.
Yes. Yeah, thank you.
I'm actually working on the March Patreon as we speak, and it is a wacky one.
Oh, man, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're also about to record the March, which you have already heard if you're a Patreon, because we're after the Chit Chat comes out, but we're about to record that right now.
Yep, that's right. So come join us over there if you haven't. It's a lot of fun. And here's a crime for your Monday. Okay, this case is a long case, so bear with me.
Okay.
You're just talking about, I feel like all of my cases have been very meaty on these Mondays. Okay, this case was suggested to us by Heather. Heather actually lives in the area where the case takes place, like a county over. It is unsolved, and Heather, our listener, said that she often wonders if she walks among someone who has the answers.
Oh, man.
Right, which is just very eerie to think about. For today, we will be heading to the Jersey Shore.
Oh, yes.
Okay, not that Jersey Shore, though. Not like Snooki Jersey Shore. This is southern New Jersey, and it's in a very quiet local beach town called Middle Township.
Oh, I know that. Yeah.
Okay. You do?
Yeah, well, I'm from New York, so.
Oh.
I mean.
Okay. Well, it's interesting that you say that. So, okay. Well, Middle Township is fairly big. It's like population 20,000. But this area where we're going is like a super small, like basically a neighborhood, but technically a community called Del Haven.
Okay. That I've not heard of. But...
And it is known as a very well-kept secret on the Jersey Shore because it's so quaint and quiet. And it actually has a population of just about 1,000.
Oh, okay.
So this is not a tourist town.
Okay, got it.
This is like a local beach town.
Yeah, I'm looking at it on the map right now. Yeah.
It looks beautiful.
Yeah, it does.
There's really no reason to go to Delhaven unless you lived there or unless you were like visiting someone who lives there. Mm-hmm. So like, you're not going to be like, let's go to the beach. Let's go to the beach in Delhaven. Like, you're not going to go there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I didn't hear of it because people like, I just have heard of, I don't know, maybe the maps, like looking at maps, but I know Middletown, like the name Middle Township.
Right. Okay. All right. So, well, in Middle Township, you probably would go to more than you would this little teeny Delhaven area.
Right. Okay. Got it. Yeah.
Okay. So I did read a book written by one of the detectives on this case, which I will give away. So stay tuned for that. And I'll talk more about that later. This is The Disappearance of Mark Himebaugh.
Okay.
Mark Joseph Himebaugh was born on May 23rd, 1980 to parents Jody and Maureen. Mark had an older brother named Matthew, who was 2 years older than him, and he lived his whole life in Delhaven. Mark's family had a home on a street that was just like a few, I think maybe one street back from the beach and from the Sound. So practically waterfront. Mm-hmm. Mark is described as being very kind and adventurous. His nickname from his mom was Curious George.
Oh, that's cute.
It is. Mark loved the outdoors. He loved the stars, bugs, and he absolutely loved living on the water. Mark had very bright red hair, blue eyes, and lots of freckles, just like his mom. So they looked a lot alike. Mark was extremely close with his mom, Maureen, and the two of them had a very special relationship. And Mark's older brother, Matthew, was very close to their dad, Jody.
Okay.
Mark's dad worked various jobs around town. He kind of bounced around, but working wasn't really his thing. Family wasn't really his thing. He kind of spent most of his free time like with a camper or a boat or fishing, things like that. And mom worked either at a nearby hospital or a bank. I saw it in two different sources. So somewhere close by in a like semi-professional job. As Mark got into elementary school, his teachers and parents began noticing that he was having some behavioral issues. So they noticed that Mark was very particular about things if they were not perfect by his standards. And it made him very uncomfortable and would cause outbursts of anger. And some of them were violent if things were just not right exactly the way he wanted it. So like an example is if he was doing his classwork at school and his handwriting wasn't exactly how he liked it, he would like throw his pencil and tear his paper up and refuse to do the assignment altogether.
This sounds very familiar.
Well, or if things weren't arranged like on his dinner plate exactly the way that he liked it, he would just throw his plate, throw his chair, scream, yell, punch walls, things like that. In the summer of 1989, Mark's parents got him evaluated and tested, and he was actually diagnosed with, this is a quote, emotional disturbances. And then he was also given the diagnosis of obsessive compulsive disorder. Okay, which actually kind of makes sense and fits a little bit. Mark and his family did attend counseling, both together and separately. And Mark was prescribed a low dose of Prozac to help with his anxiety and outburst. This is 1989.
Right.
So we're talking...
that one diagnosis is definitely not called that anymore. Emotional disturbed or whatever you said it was.
I don't know that that was a diagnosis. The diagnosis was obsessive compulsive disorder, but it was noted that medically he suffered from emotional disturbances. Okay, because of Mark's behavior, it seemed that his dad had a hard time connecting with Mark and would often lose patience with him and just not know how to deal with him or want to deal with him. So Mark's dad just didn't really invest in any kind of a relationship with Mark and left most of the parenting to Maureen, Mark's mom. So I'm sure that's why Mark was closer to his mom than he was to his dad. Mark's mom said she never saw his dad hug him or be affectionate with Mark in any way, that he really just mostly like ignored him. By the time Mark was in 4th grade, his behavior had become more regulated and he was doing really well, both academically and socially. He moved to a new school, which was better equipped to deal with his illness and like give him tools and put him in an environment where, you know, things didn't have to be inside a box and he could thrive a little better.
Mm-hmm.
His grades were good. He had friends at school. He had friends in the neighborhood. He was doing really well. He even had a little girlfriend who he was very serious about and claimed to have loved very deeply.
Aw,
in
sweet.
that fourth grade kind of way, which like sounds silly, but I myself have a little Casanova who was in third grade, and he is deeply in love with his girly and has been for like a year. Mark's behavior seemed to have improved even more when his dad moved out of the family's home in the spring of 1991 at the request of Mom.
Okay.
Mark's parents did not have the best relationship. They were really roommates more than anything else. Mark's dad was constantly changing jobs, which put financial strains on the family. And Maureen, who had a full-time job, had to do odd jobs like cleaning house and things like that in order to make extra money. Plus the fact that Mark's dad had really just kind of left Mark's mom to parent him alone, super uncool.
Right.
That caused a lot of strain on the family as well. And so she was like, get out.
Well, good for her.
Right now. That's right. Also, according to the book that was written by the detective on this case, the last straw for Mark's mom was when his dad was accused of having inappropriate sexual behaviors with other females, as well as with some of his young nieces.
Okay.
Now, this has never been proven, and Mark's dad was never charged with anything like this, but there have been people who have come forward making these claims. And they came to Maureen, Mom, and said, this is happening.
Like outside the statute of limitations or like?
No, at the time.
Oh.
They came forward to her and said, like some friends of the family came forward and were like, he like comes up and grabs my boobs for no reason. And then the nieces came forward and made these claims. And so finally she was just like, get out of my house.
Okay. All right. Okay. So that's part of the reason.
But legally nothing was ever proven or done.
Got it.
So Mark's dad did have weekend visitation with the boys, but normally only Mark's older brother Matthew would go. And Mark most of the time stayed back with his mom, which was just fine with his dad anyway. However, on the weekend of November 23rd, 1991, 11-year-old Mark had decided to go with his brother to his dad's place for the weekend. So Mark's dad lived in an apartment about 20 minutes away, and the apartment was very cool, and it was in an outdoor shopping center, like over top of a store. So it was in like a mall, is kind of what they call it, but it's like all outdoors. So Mark wanted to go that weekend because he wanted to walk around the like shopping center to buy a birthday present for his mom.
Okay.
So he wanted to do it without her there. And he was like, well, my dad, I can do it if I'm at my dad's, so I'll just go.
Okay.
So her birthday was later that week. So he wanted to go and get her a present. Mark's girlfriend, the one that I told you about earlier, even came to his dad's with him, like came for the day to spend some time with him and then to help him like walk around and pick out the present.
Oh, that's sweet.
So cute. So he ended up buying her a troll doll.
Oh my gosh, troll dolls.
Isn't that so cute? Which you know they're back now because of these movies, but
I do know they're back now, but I just feel like their quality is not the same.
I don't know that I've ever seen a troll doll toy, but I have seen the movies.
Okay.
The last one was great.
Okay.
So Mark's dad dropped both of the boys off at their mom's house in Delhaven on Sunday evening, as normal. However, something that stood out to Mark's mom was that as she watched them like say goodbye in the driveway, Mark's dad actually reached out and hugged Mark, which stood out to her because that was not something that she had ever, like rarely, if ever, seen him do with Mark. But she thought, well, I hope that it meant that they had a good weekend and that maybe Mark's dad was finally trying to build a relationship with him. Like he hasn't gone to spend the weekend with him for a while. Maybe this is a good thing. But it did Not alarm her, but just alert her.
Right.
So that week was the week of Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark's mom's birthday was the day after Thanksgiving. So the boys, especially Mark, were excited to be home and to have an upcoming long weekend and to celebrate the holiday and their mom's birthday all together. On Monday, November 25th, 1991, 11-year-old Mark went to school as normal, and he rode the bus home. He got home around 2:30 that afternoon, but the house was empty. Not super abnormal. Mark's brother was staying after school that day for like a sports tryout, and then he had a play rehearsal. And his mom was, he figured, probably just running errands. So Mark turned on the TV and was just sitting on the couch watching shows. A few minutes later, Mark's mom came in the door with grocery bags, and he jumped up to help her unload. And she told him that she was going to be making the boys' favorite dinner that night, which was fried chicken and mashed potatoes.
Ooh, it's my favorite dinner.
With gravy.
Mm.
The family also had plans after dinner to go visit an old teacher of Mark's who happened to be like his favorite teacher ever. So Mark's mom was actually going to be cleaning this woman's house for some extra money for a couple of hours, and the boys were going along to visit with her because Mark really wanted to see this old teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Very sweet. Around 3:00, their neighbor knocked on the door. Her car was in the shop at a nearby garage, and she asked Mark's mom if she could give her a ride to pick it up. So Mark's mom agreed because it would only take her 10 minutes, 15 minutes max, like round trip. It was very, very close by.
Okay.
So as they opened the door, they noticed that there was smoke coming from the beach nearby, and then they heard fire like sirens. So Mark, aka Curious George, was super interested in what was going on, and he climbed up. They had like a makeshift radio tower in their backyard. And so he kind of like shimmied up that to see if he could see what was going on, and noticed that on the nearby beach, there was a brush fire. And so he asked his mom, begged his mom if he could walk down, which was just maybe a half mile or so, visible from their house, to check it out. Mark's mom agreed, but she told him, come home because we have to have dinner and we have plans. So then she jumped in the car and backed out of the driveway to take the neighbor to the garage to pick her car up, and she saw Mark walking down the road in the direction of the fire as she pulled away. She yelled to him that she would be back in 15 minutes, and he yelled back, "Okay, Mom." Maureen would never see her son again.
Oh my gosh.
Because of the fire, police officers had to reroute the traffic in Delhaven, this tiny little community. And there were a lot more cars driving up and down the roads in Delhaven than normal. So like I said, you don't go there unless you have somewhere to go that you know like lives there. But now there's traffic from like a main road having to come in through the community. So because of this, Mark's mom, like the favor of going to pick up the neighbor's car, went from being 10 to 15 minutes to taking over 45 minutes for her to get back. So neighbors saw Mark at the location of the brush fire. So he did go. This was around 3:00, just after he walked around, was checking things out, talking to some people. Some other neighbors, a couple that knew Mark, saw Mark around 3:30 walking back towards his house on the street. So he'd come off the beach. What time did he leave
to go?
It was just before 3.
Okay.
So he gets there about 3, makes sense. About 3:30, he's leaving, walking back towards his house. So this couple that saw him walking noticed that there was a car, because they were like parked on the side of the road looking at the fire, like also watching the fire. And there was a car behind them that had 2 people in it, and they didn't know who those 2 people were. But as Mark walked by, the man in the passenger side kind of popped out and was yelling something at Mark.
Okay.
So very brief exchange, but the couple, especially the woman, she like kind of started paying attention because she didn't know who these people were. And she was just kind of wondering, like, why are they yelling at him? Like, what are they saying? But it was super brief. Mark didn't even really stop. He like kind of kept walking. So the couple just kind of chalked it up to like, these are strangers. They've been detoured onto their street, and they're asking this kid what was going on.
Okay.
Up ahead. So no big deal. But after a minute or two, the car behind them pulled out and around them and then turned around and went back in the direction that Mark was walking, which wasn't necessary. They could have kept going straight and made it out of town. Mark was then seen just before 4 p.m. walking into a park nearby his home that he played at all the time. And a park employee knew Mark very well and saw him there pretty often. Most of the time he was with his brother or with his girlfriend. But on this day, the park employee saw Mark walking with another young girl that he had never seen before. Okay. So someone knew. What I'm telling you, this is a really, really small community.
Right. So people pay attention to stuff.
They definitely pay attention. And they all know Mark. Like, not only does he live in the community, but he's got bright red hair, freckles. Like, he's a very distinct looking young man. So this park employee waved to Mark and went on about, like, finishing up his shift. And, you know, the two went into the park. No big deal. Mark's mom got home right around the same time, about 4 o'clock. And the house was empty. So she just started making dinner. About 30 minutes later, around 4:30, Matthew, Mark's brother, called home. He said that he'd finished up his after-school activities and had gone to a friend's house for a few minutes to hang out, and he asked if his mom would run by and pick him up. Okay. So it's like a mile away, no big deal. So mom jumps in the car. The fire had been put out at this point. The traffic was cleared. So she got in her car, went to go pick up the brother, and like kind of was looking for Mark. Like around the neighborhood along the way, but she didn't see him. So they got home. Mark still wasn't there. So mom just finished up dinner and they decided to go ahead and eat because they were like, gosh, he's just gotten sidetracked. It wasn't unlike him to run around the neighborhood, you know, just like our kids. Like, they're out and about sometimes and, you know, are late every now and then. So they decided to go ahead and eat. He'll be back any minute. He can eat when he gets here. They ate. They finished eating, and Mark still wasn't home. So now they're kind of alarmed. Plus, it was getting dark, and it was not like Mark to stay out past dark, especially because he was really excited for this dinner. It was his favorite dinner, and he was really excited to go and see his old teacher. So Mark's mom got in her car and started driving around the small neighborhood to all Mark's usual spots where he used to play. She asked around some of the neighborhood friends if they've seen him. No one had seen him that day. And then she learned that the fire had been put out since like 3:30, 3:45. So now she's very alarmed, and she called police to report that her 11-year-old son was missing. So this call came in around 6 o'clock. Okay. Matthew also tried to call his dad, but he didn't get an answer. He had to leave a message. So Dad, Jody, was a member of a barbershop quartet.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And they wore like the striped jackets and everything. Huh. I saw a picture. And they had a show at a local diner, like dinner place nearby. And so he knew that that's where he was. So he left the message, call us when you get home. We can't find Mark. We're not sure what's going on. By 6:30, multiple police officers were at Mark's house, and they immediately started asking around, and word traveled really quickly. Within an hour, there were about 100 people out searching for Mark, law enforcement and volunteers. And within 2 hours, there were 200 people out searching for him. And the Coast Guard had been called in with helicopters.
Oh,
so this community came out in force.
Right. No kidding.
Like, they were not messing around. So initially, everyone was concerned that Mark may have fallen into a marsh and like gotten stuck, or like a nearby waterway and could possibly have drowned, or like, the way they made it sound, it was like a kind of a quicksand situation. Like, it was very muddy and murky, and like, he's little, so maybe he got stuck.
Well, and had the people come forward saying they saw him walking back from the beach? Like, so
not
that
yet.
Wasn't? Oh, okay.
As they question throughout the evening, they learn about all that stuff.
Okay.
But yeah. But yeah, not yet. Sorry. Okay, so the weather was also getting extremely cold, and they knew that he would not be safe, like, out for very long at night. It was extremely windy. It's winter in New Jersey. So they finally were able to reach Mark's dad at the restaurant where he was singing, and he came by the house as well. Police put together the timeline of the sightings that I just told you about. So they're asking around. Now they know he was last seen around 4 o'clock at the park with this girl. No one had seen him since then. And no one seemed to know who this girl was.
Right. So they knew it wasn't his little girlfriend.
No, definitely not her, because the park employee knew the girlfriend.
Right. Okay.
And she was kind of younger than he was, is how she was described. And like she had on a very distinct looking coat. And no one like had any idea who that could be. Okay, so at 9 p.m., some searchers came into the house with something that they had found on the beach. So they had found one boy's sneaker. So this was a very distinct looking sneaker, and it was LA Gear brand.
Oh,
do you remember
my word.
The LA Gear?
Yes.
Hi, 1991.
Yeah.
Welcome in. So this sneaker had red and white shoelaces, and it was the left shoe.
Okay.
So only one. So Mark's mom immediately recognized this sneaker as being Mark's. So the sneakers had actually been hand-me-downs from Mark's older brother. And Mark's brother also recognized them and showed the police a tear in them that had happened when he owned the sneakers. Okay. So he was like, no, these are definitely Mark's because this happened to the sneaker when they were mine.
Okay.
And then I gave them to Mark. So the police went out to the spot on the beach where the sneaker was found. Okay, this is hairy, so stick with me.
Okay.
Which, by the way, this beach was nowhere near any of the places where Mark had been seen by witnesses that day. Or near the fire.
Oh.
So, like, in order to get to where this sneaker had been found, he would have had to have left the fire, walked by his home, and passed it. And that's where it was. It was like a couple blocks past his home. So I have a map where all of these locations are in the book. Yeah. So, and it'll help.
Do you know what the name of the beach was?
Or no? Sunray Beach or something like that.
Okay.
Sunset Beach, Sunray Beach. So. Okay. So police took dogs out to the beach to track Mark's scent. And they were able to pick up his scent. So they followed the sneaker prints that matched the ones from the LA Gear sneaker. And there were two sneaker prints that went to the spot where the shoe was found. Okay. So he's walking with both shoes, gets to one certain spot, one shoe comes off. After that, they found a sneaker print and a sock print.
How weird that he wouldn't just like stop and grab his shoe. Something was stopping him.
I don't know. So he continued to walk with only one shoe on, a couple more yards up the beach. Then they found two sock prints, like he had taken off his other shoe. But there was no other shoe found anywhere. Okay. So these shoe prints and Mark's scent led to the street at the end of the beach, and then the scent is lost. And there's no more prints.
Got it.
Almost like Mark had gotten into a car. They determined that the footprints were a few hours old and that Mark had likely been walking and not running. And he was alone. There was nobody else's shoe prints or footprints anywhere, like walking along with his or behind him or anything like that.
How can you tell that footprints are only, I mean, does it have to do with like wind and that they weren't like covered over and...
Exactly.
Okay.
There was some sand in them, but they were still visible.
Okay.
So detectives also, I do want to say this because you were saying it's so weird that he took one shoe off. Okay, so he had broken his left foot a couple of months before this, and he had a boot and had recently like just gotten out of his boot and was in regular shoes. So at first they thought maybe he took his shoe off intentionally because maybe it was bothering him.
Right.
But he left it.
Right. Yeah.
And then took his other one off and didn't leave it.
Yeah. Exactly.
So that's strange. Okay. Detectives spoke to Mark's teachers and friends. All of them said that Mark had been completely normal at school on the day that he disappeared. Mark's friend, who rode the bus home with him that day, actually said that he and Mark had made plans to get together in the marsh and build a fort over the Thanksgiving weekend that was coming up. No one knew of any issues Mark had been having or any indication that he was having problems at home, problems at school. Him being a runaway was not really an option, especially with one shoe. So there was some indication to detectives that there was like unusual circumstances and possible foul play. Despite the cold, searchers searched all night and over the next few days for any other sign of Mark, but nothing else was ever found except for that one left sneaker. Ever. So pretty quickly, investigators knew that they were looking at a probable child abduction case. And so they began treating it as that, which it still remains today, actually. Detectives created a Himbaugh task force, and the FBI was called in. Sketches of the man that the neighbors saw yelling at Mark on the street were done and released. A description of their vehicle was released, and a sketch was also released of the young girl that the park employee saw walking with Mark.
Okay.
No one ever came forward that they were those people or that they knew who they were, which was very strange for a small community. Right away, Mark's dad, Jody, became a suspect.
Oh, really?
So they knew that Mark and his dad did not have a very close relationship and that Jody was like very impatient with him most of the time. They also knew that Mark's parents were going through a divorce and that there were custody and child support issues going on and that he favored the other son and not Mark. And then they also had suspicions about Jody because of the allegations that were made about him regarding the inappropriate sexual behaviors. Plus, honestly, they didn't like it.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's not like a great guy, but like what would be the benefit to that to him? I mean, just to get rid of him so there would be less child support? I mean...
Yes. I mean, I think that's what they're thinking at first, but some other stuff will come out here later. Okay, so at first, Mark's dad did not participate in any of the searches. Like, he went to work and continued to sing in the barbershop quartet, even though hundreds of people, like 20% of their community was searching for his son, but he wasn't.
Okay, question though. He had a show that night. So didn't he go missing like during the time that he would have been at that show?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll get to that too.
Okay.
So after Mark went missing, his dad started a foundation called Friends of Mark to raise awareness of his disappearance, but it was later reported that he had been misusing the funds.
Not
so that also was not a good look. However, like you mentioned, he had a solid alibi.
Right. So
he was confirmed at work. This is about 20 minutes away. Then immediately after, he went to his show with the barbershop quartet, confirmed there. And once he was told about Mark being missing, he left the show and came to the family home.
Okay.
So all during that time frame, in fact, that whole day, he's accounted
with
for.
Somebody, yeah.
Absolutely. A $25,000 reward was offered. Mark's photo and his description was plastered all over the news. Both of Mark's parents took and passed polygraphs. 20 billboards went up all over the Jersey Shore. Flyers were distributed. Every resident of Delhaven was interviewed. All 1,000 of them. Every single one.
Jeez.
No one knew the identity of the man from the street or the young girl, or if there was a connection between the two. The shoe was tested, but nothing was found. But it's 1991, so there's very few things they can test for. Plus, it had been on the beach. Police did question a convicted pedophile that was rumored to have picked up and molested some boys from Delhaven, where Mark lived. However, his car or him was never actually spotted there, and he had an alibi for the afternoon Mark went missing. And he had no history of murder either. So, like, he would molest them, but he didn't kidnap them. They went home. Police considered the likelihood that this was a stranger abduction. Maybe someone who wasn't from the area had been detoured into Delhaven because of the fire and had seen Mark walking alone barefoot and, like, picked him up. However, it would have been extremely out of character for Mark to have gotten into a car with a stranger. Mark liked routine. He liked order. He liked consistency, and he literally could not manage when things were out of his comfort zone.
Right. That OCD would kick in and be like,
right. And there were no signs of any kind of a struggle that they could see. Police also considered the possibility that the shoe and footprints were not Mark's at all, or that maybe the shoe was Mark's, but it had been planted there to kind of make it seem like Mark had been walking on the beach and drowned and one of his shoes washed up.
Well, that's kind of coincidental with the whole like shoe sock prints. And
but I think they're thinking like, is this a red herring? You know, and something else happened. Sadly, no leads came in and years went by without any sign of Mark. Then in February of 1993, so this is about 15 months after Mark disappeared, a sex worker in Pennsylvania, a male sex worker, came forward with some possible information about Mark's case. So this sex worker told them that he had a regular customer named Thomas Butkovich.
What a name.
It's spelled butt cabbage, by the way. And I kind of just want to call him Butt Cabbage.
Okay.
So, because he is, I don't know what a butt cabbage is, but it sounds like him.
Thomas.
Sounds just like him. Yeah, Thomas Butt Cabbage. We're all phonetical here. So he claimed that the night before, this man had picked him up, this Butt Cabbage, picked him up and took him to his home as usual. And during these exchanges, it was normal for them to watch pornographic movies. Okay. But on this particular night, Thomas Butkovich had shown him an extremely disturbing homemade film of a young boy who was gagged and restrained and being sexually assaulted clearly against his will. He described this boy as being around 11 or 12 and having red hair and freckles. And he said that he recognized him from the missing posters as being Mark Himebaugh. He said, I am sure of this. I'm telling you. He said that this man, this Butt Cabbage man, had told him that he liked to drive around in rural areas and kidnap young boys, sexually assault them, and murder them. So this sex worker is extremely disturbed by this video and by the things that this man was telling him. So he went directly to police. Like, even though he could have gotten in trouble himself.
Right.
He was like, oh my gosh, so this is the smart kid. This man is a creeper. And he was worried about Mark and his life. So he just told them everything.
Wow. There's an example of see something, say something, no matter what.
100%. So interestingly, after they looked at the mugshot of this man, Butt Cabbage, they realized that this man looked insanely similar to the sketch that the neighbors had provided of the man that they saw on the street who yelled at Mark. So I'll post a picture of this, but I just sent them to you.
Wow.
Look at the difference.
Yeah, there's
very few differences.
Yeah. I mean, nothing that I can see at this point, but
they look so much alike. So police named Thomas Butkovich an official suspect in Mark's disappearance and immediately went out to question him and search his home.
Okay.
He denied ever knowing or seeing Mark and claimed that he had nothing to do with his disappearance. When police questioned him about the video of the young boy that the sex worker said he had shown him, he said, no, you'll never find anything like that at my house. Okay. They also asked him about his statements to the sex worker about liking to pick up and assault and kill young boys. And this man said that he did fantasize about doing that on occasion, but that he never actually done it.
I don't believe you.
Also, who says that to police?
Well, yeah, you don't. Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't fantasize about that. Doesn't that make me look innocent?
Yeah, I don't know.
Damn Butt Cabbage. Police found dozens, if not more, amateur porn videos in this man's home. However, after reviewing them, which would be an awful job, by the way, although they were disturbing, they all turned out to be consenting adults. So they never found any videos or photos of minors, and there was no evidence of Mark in the home or having any connection to Thomas Butkovich.
Okay.
So they did find, the only connection that they could find is that Thomas Butkovich was like a friend of someone who sang in the barbershop quartet with Mark's dad.
Oh.
So it was like he was friends with a guy, and that guy's dad sang with Mark's dad. It was very like lots of degrees, but
right, yeah,
that was the only connection they could find with Delhaven and Mark and this guy. However, he was arrested for the possession of marijuana because they found some in his home, but there was no evidence that he'd ever been in Delhaven or that he had any connection to Mark's disappearance. He had a receipt from a computer store in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So remember, this guy lives in Pennsylvania. This was time-stamped at 3:00 on the day that Mark went missing. So they knew that he was in Philadelphia at 3 on that day. The distance between Philadelphia and Delhaven is like about 60 miles. So like 2 hours. I don't think it necessarily rules him out because it puts him there at 5, but whatever.
Yeah.
So after this tip comes in, Mark's case goes quiet again. In 1994, a tree in Delhaven was dedicated to Mark called the Tree of Hope because everyone was hoping that at some point they would have answers or find him. In May of 1998, Maureen, Mark's mom, was presented with an honorary diploma because it would have been when Mark graduated from high school. Also in 1998, investigators learned that Thomas Butkovich was arrested for molesting 3 young men.
Oh.
So he did do it.
Okay.
Police went to speak with him again while he was in prison regarding Mark's disappearance, but he refused to speak to them or answer any questions this time. So he was sentenced for this molestation to 18 to 36 years in prison, and he's still in prison and expected to be released in 2035. So we still have no answers or connection to him and Mark, but we know that he is a pedophile.
Right, exactly.
He's a real butt cabbage.
But sorry, that just makes me nauseous.
Okay, so there is one additional theory that I want to tell you about. I want to be very clear. This theory is unproven, and it is only made by the detective who wrote the book. So it's not necessarily my opinion or our opinion, but I am mentioning it because this book came out in 2022. It's called Where is Mark? And the guy's name is Richard McHale, who was the detective that worked on the case. It had a lot of unreleased information about the investigation that was never made public because it was an open investigation. So like the map of Mark's where the shoe was and where the fire was and all that stuff, that's in there. There's quite a lot of information. However, Mark's mom promotes this book and speaks out about its accuracy. So that is why I am bringing up this particular theory from that book.
Well, I mean, and he was the detective on the case. So got to say he's pretty knowledgeable on.
I would hope he's not lying.
Right.
I would hope. So this man claims, this detective, that years after the fact, I don't know what year, but years later, Mark's girlfriend at the time of the disappearance, so his little girlfriend, she came forward. She claims that Mark's father, Jody, was sex trafficking her and Mark starting at the age of 6 and continuing until Mark's disappearance. She claims that Mark's father would bring her and Mark into the home, into his bedroom, and that men would pay money to watch her and Mark engage in sexual acts, and that she was raped by these men and by Mark's father. And some of this was on videotape.
Oh my goodness.
So this woman, her name is in the book, but I'm not going to say it. She also claims that on the weekend just before Mark went missing, so remember he went to his dad's that weekend before he went missing because he wanted to shop for his mom's birthday. She came because she wanted to help him shop. She claims that there was a man who exchanged money to engage in sexual acts with her and watch her and Mark, and that she was raped, and that just after Mark had spoken to her about him being done, this is the last time this is going to happen. He said he was going to go home. He was going to tell his mom. He was going to tell police everything. He was sick of these people hurting him. And she believes that Mark's dad overheard this conversation. And the very next day, Mark went missing. So I was not able to find these claims in any other source other than the book.
And she's not like, it's just him saying she came forward and said
That's correct. That's another point. I have not heard her speak out publicly other than in the book that was written by this former detective who says that this information was part of the investigation.
Okay.
But years later is when she came out.
Right.
Okay. So there's never been any charges or any evidence presented against Mark's dad or any other men that have allegedly participated in this sex trafficking ring. This is 100% the author's theory that Mark's father was involved in some trafficking ring of minors, that Mark and his girlfriend were being abused, were being sexually trafficked, that Mark was getting older and was starting to fight against his dad, and possibly his dad had somebody in this ring, maybe Thomas Butkovich, abduct and murder his son to keep it quiet. So I obviously am not saying that that's my theory, but I also can't say that this woman is being untruthful because why would she say all of this? And she was so scared to come forward for so many years. Like, now this man is in jail. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just a theory. But I just want to be upfront that this is the book author's theory. And it's never been corroborated. So I don't know. In 2004, Mark's case was transferred to the FBI's cold case unit. The shoe was forensically tested, but nothing was found. Age progression photos were released of Mark in 2014 when he would have been 34 years old. In May 2023, the Himbaugh task force released a statement saying that they were going to be using AI, like artificial intelligence, in something to do with Mark's disappearance in order to, this is what they say, uncover patterns not apparent to the naked eye.
Okay.
I have no idea what that means, and they did not elaborate on it, but I'm wondering if they're thinking this sex trafficking ring is a real thing. And they're now starting to investigate that as a broader thing.
I mean, I guess that's possible.
I don't know. All right. So as of May of this year, 2024, if Mark were still alive, he would be turning 44 years old.
Oh, man.
The reward is still active, and the case is still considered open, active, and unsolved. Mark's mom still lives in the home that Mark disappeared from in Delhaven. Every year on the anniversary of Mark's disappearance, they hold a memorial on the beach, and they have 11 minutes of silence representing his 11 short years of life. So I don't think that they believe that he is alive.
Right, yeah.
Mark's mom, Maureen, said in a documentary that I watched, she said, "I'm still waiting and hoping, not so much dreaming, but hoping to get closure." Mark's father and brother do not speak publicly about Mark's case or disappearance, or about any allegations made against them. But it is still widely believed that someone in that town knows something.
Right. I
more
would
than what they're
imagine.
saying.
Somebody even saw something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people pay attention that much in that town.
I think a lot of people came. Oh, and the theory too about the young girl is that perhaps she was used as bait.
Right.
To lure him.
Okay. All right.
Because nobody knew who she was. But I'm telling you what, that mugshot and sketch of old butt cabbage, I was my jaw dropped open.
Well, yeah, because it looks just like him. And so clearly he did come in contact with Mark during that day. He's the one that was yelling out the window, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's that's who they made the sketch of, is the man that they saw. And it was pointed out too that they saw him twice because he was behind them.
Right.
got out of the car and they're looking backwards, like in their rearview mirror, and maybe even turning around. And then they drove past them. So they saw him then, and then they turned around and came back.
Right.
So they really kind of saw him from all three views, like front, side, other side. Yeah. I think they probably got a good look. Now, I'm not, facial recognition and what are the eyewitness stuff, like, it's not my favorite. It's not my favorite kind of evidence, but like this sketch and this mugshot, it's like they made the sketch from the mugshot.
Right, exactly. Like they drew a picture of him
of
sitting
the mugshot. Yes, that's what it looks like. It's crazy looking. So anyway, I do have a book to give away. So come find us on social media to see these pictures. And then also we'll post in a couple days about getting the book. And then I have tips, like tip lines in the notes if you have any information, places you can contact, all that stuff. So
okay. I have one other question. If what the little girlfriend came forward years later was true, why wouldn't he go after both of them so they would both keep quiet?
That's a good point. Because at the time she was still cooperating, from what I understand. So like her account, okay, and I want to say this too. If you get this book, whoever gets this book, or if you decide to order this book and read it, that part of this book, it's unfortunately written. Like, I'm not saying he shouldn't have told the story. I don't like the way he wrote it. Like, it's way too graphic. It's not, but that being said,
there were some things he could have left out.
Yes,
and still
I believe
gotten
so.
The point across. Okay,
100%. I did not. I had a hard time reading it. Like I had to stop several times and like do something else and come back to it. And like it was a struggle for me to get through that part of the book. It's very, very detailed. But she does say that the whole entire time, Mark is very, very like protesting against what's happening for like one of the first times ever. And she wasn't.
Okay.
She was just scared and let's get it over with. Shut up.
Okay.
So that we can get it over with kind of thing. So I don't know if maybe that, I don't know.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, makes sense.
It's awful. It's hard to read.
Okay. Interesting. Man, now I kind of feel like I want to.
I don't want to read that to you first. Yeah.
No, it's all right.
Yeah, it's not long. It's not a long part of the book, but it's just be aware if you read it that I was not a fan of the exact way it was written.
Okay. Do you have a theory that you lean towards?
Just
out of curiosity.
I always believe victims. You know what I mean? Like, and it makes sense. It makes things fit. I don't understand the shoe thing, the footprint thing. I don't know. I don't know what that is unless he knew this man because he had been assaulted by this man before and got in the car because he felt like he had to.
Well, and if it was the Butkovich guy that they saw with him, he could have been yelling something out the window about stuff that he like had witnessed, like because
threatening him or something.
Yeah. And he could have been the guy that, I don't know. I'm just thinking like about how like he could have, commented about one of the times he paid to watch if he was one of the guys or whatever.
Right. Like get in the car with me or I'm going to tell your mom or I'm going to,
Yeah.
Or I'm going to hurt your mom or,
Right.
I mean, they use all kinds of threats.
Right. And then just continue to like, kind of follow him until he got him.
Right.
Because he didn't get in the car at that point. Those people did not see him get in the car. And
then he definitely did.
Park after that. So,
I mean, I hear you. It doesn't explain the girl in the park.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I honestly, I don't know that I have a theory. I know something happened to him.
Well, yeah, clearly.
Not accidental. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's very sad.
If it was accidental, he'd have been found. His body would have been found somewhere in that town.
Unless he drowned in the ocean or.
Well, true. Well, I don't know. I don't know
that I have a theory. I
want to know.
Really feel for everyone involved.
Yeah.
Honestly. And I can definitely see how living nearby this town and being a young kid, like our listener, this would be you'd never forget it.
Right. Yeah.
And it's
I had
a
not
huge
heard
case.
that before.
I was going to say, I'm surprised because it's a really, really big case. I've been researching this case forever.
Although that guy looks familiar, so I guess it is possible that I've seen like
Butkovich
pictures. I'm going to have to see a picture of Mark too.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah. Wow. Well, I hope this AI thing, whatever the heck they're going to do with AI, like comes up with something.
And that's the other thing too, is it like for them to come out and say this seems like there's something bigger at play than just a 30-something year old cold case.
Well, because you would think like, okay, fine, the case is still active and open, but they wouldn't be like announcing stuff. They would just be working on stuff in the background. And then if something happens, they'd come out and be like, whoa, after however many years. Yeah.
That's what I mean. I think that's very telling without telling us anything.
Right. Yeah. Hey, this is random, but your cup kind of matches like your shirt, like in the not matte.
Oh yeah, the stripes.
A little white. And, yeah.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna have to post a clip about that now.
Yeah, now you are. Anyway, okay, wow. Well, thanks for who was it that suggested this? I'm sorry, I don't remember. Heather. For some reason, that a name escaped me.
Disappearance of Mark Himebaugh. Thank you, Heather.
Thanks for suggesting that, Heather, and thanks for diving in and reading that book.
Yeah.
Man.
Where is Mark?
Oh. You know, this whole time, do you, I don't know if you do this. Do you envision names like and spelling? I think this is part of the reason why a lot of times I spell things out for people when I'm like, I think this is how you say it. This, like
I don't think I do that now.
Because the whole time every time you say the name Mark, I saw MARC.
Oh yeah, nope.
And I don't know why, because that's not a common spelling of it.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I envision butt cabbage.
Well, that one. Butkovich. He must be Polish.
Butkovich. He looks Polish in the picture.
Yeah, because my mom's maiden name is Yuksakowicz.
Wow. Bless you.
They shortened it when they came to America, but
okay.
Anyway. Yeah. Anyways, all right. Well, thanks for pouring into that. And gosh, yep, you keep getting the long ones. Although it's kind of nice. It's like short, long.
Yeah. Right.
So anyway,
Sorry if I've perplexed your Monday. Let me know what you think.
You really, we haven't had. I feel like we haven't had it unsolved in a while. It's been
a while. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I feel like it. Yeah. Well, if you count like Sean Doherty, it's not unsolved. It was ruled a suicide, but it kind of is.
Right.
In my opinion, unsolved. There's that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. And this is the first time I feel like I remember being really frustrated by something and not knowing the answer to it.
It is frustrating. I agree.
Anyway, all right. Well, come check us out on social media so you can see pictures of Butkovich.
And Mark.
Yes, sorry, not just him.
I'll do the age progression photo. I'll put that up there too.
Oh, yeah. And are you going to put any maps up or no?
I'm going to put a picture of the map. I think it's important.
Yeah, cool. All right, awesome. Well, come check out so you can kind of get a little bird's eye view of what we were just chatting about here.
Yeah, and the book. Come get the book.
The book, yes. And stay tuned for the giveaway because we do it on social media because we've had people reach out like, how do we do this? You have to pay attention to social media. So come over to Instagram and Facebook and maybe even Threads. I don't know.
Probably we have that.
Yeah. I guess we'll have to look for responses on there in case we get one.
Yeah.
Man. Another place to check.
I look, guys. I look.
Anyways, thanks for listening. Go over to Patreon and check us out over there. We've got some interesting stuff. It's just $3 a month, everyone. Give yourself a little treat yourself. And just always remember, the world is scary. People suck. Hide in your closet.